Moving on to the glass, I'm going to be coating the glass, and what I'm going to use is a GYEON View. And for this process, it comes with cleanse and it comes with repel. Cleanse, I'm basically going to be, I'm going to call it polishing the glass. This one I'm going to be using, there's an applicator down here, and then for the coating itself, it's going to be this right here, which is repel. I'm going to be doing this on all the glass, including the windshield. I figured the side glass would be the easiest to video just to show you my process. And so that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get into this. It comes with an applicator sponge. It comes with the applicator felt, I would call it. I believe it's a microfiber, but it comes with this and this for putting on the coating. I started with Stoner Invisible Glass and cleaned the entire window off. I also used a spot remover and did that on all of the windows as well. So the next step is to use this applicator, and I'm not sure what this material is right here, but they say large sponge or large, what does it say? It says to use a thick sponge. Yeah, so this right here would be their idea of a thick sponge. And it says to apply this to this and go in circular motion, so that's what we're gonna do. Okay, starting with cleanse. So I'm going to put a small amount on the sponge, the large thick sponge or whatever they want to call it. It says to work this, so I'm going to go in straight lines on the edges. I'm going to work in a circular motion. So what do I start with? I'm putting a bit of pressure on this. Drops. So it almost has a little bit of a gritty feel to it. This is a first time application for me, so by all means, if you see that I'm doing something kind of goofy, please drop a comment. One thing I really enjoy is talking with other detailers or other maybe DIYers that have used products. Maybe they've had a little different experience with them, and from my perspective, that's how we get better. And so it's not going to hurt my feelings if you say, hey, you don't know what you're doing. There will be no need to go to the gym today, because today is going to be all about ceramic coating this entire vehicle. So that's going to be today's work. Then it says to wipe it off with a clean damp towel, so I have a clean damp towel. It's a Rag Company towel. I will say that the glass is now incredibly gritty, so I'm just going to use another dry towel just to remove any kind of lint off the surface. Looks pretty darn clean, so the next thing I'm going to do is apply the coating. And so I'm only going to do this one window for this video, but I'm going to be going over the entire vehicle after this. This is only to show you what I'm using and how I'm using it. So again, we're going to be using repel, so it's called a rain repellent. Shake it up real well. I'm going to be using the supplied suede applicator and also the block that it comes with. And it says to apply generously and to let it dry for 15 minutes and then apply a second coat. So that's what we're going to do. says, oh no, I was out of frame. All right, so all I did was applied the coating to my block and applicator. And it says to also do this in a circular motion. So I'll start up here, and of course on the corners, I always go straight into the corners. Otherwise you can't get into the entire corner well. And then it says do circular patterns, or circular motion I should say, to apply this. So it says to do one coat, leave it for 15 minutes, and then do a second coat over it. And then from that point, you wipe it off after. Just making sure that everything's covered. Good look. Bottom. Pinch more. Top looks good. This side looks pretty good. One little spot right here. Circular pattern. Okay, so now we wait 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, I'm gonna apply more of this onto this window. Then I have to wait another 15, 20 minutes and wipe it off after that. And that's how I'm gonna coat everything. One thing I'm going to do is, after I'm done with this entire vehicle, it's going to get all GYEON products, ceramics for that matter, on the entire vehicle. So trim, glass, paint, everything. And so I'll do updates. So this vehicle is gonna be stored outside. So I'm gonna be washing it every 2 weeks, and I will give updates on how well all these coatings are holding up on all the different surfaces. So stay tuned for that. Now it's been 15 minutes, and it says to use a damp cloth and wipe this down. I'm gonna follow that up with a clean microfiber cloth. So let's see how this goes. I will say that didn't go too bad. The one thing I will say is I'm not real thrilled with the whole installation of this. What I don't like is in the buffing stage, it's incredibly, what's the word I'm looking for? The amount of elbow grease that's recommended or required, I would say, to polish this is a lot. It's a lot. And now the window's just sticky as can be, so you can see it's just pulling lint and a hair somehow. So what I'm gonna do is I'll go back over it with this damp cloth. Stuff is sticky as can be. Damp and then come back later and leave it a final wipe. So there's the process. I think it looks good, looks really good. Just not sure the longevity or anything else, and that's why we're gonna that's why I'll continue to do updates. So let's see how this particular coating holds up. All right, so I'm gonna finish this vehicle as far as the glass goes, and then I will get with you on the next process. See you in a bit. Moving on to the next stage, I'm going to be working on the trim. So in this case, it's gonna be the steps, all the plastic, anything that's trim, I'm going to be coating. And to do that, so the vehicle's been washed thoroughly, it's been wiped thoroughly multiple times, and to start out the process, I'm going to wipe down the surface with GYEON RIM. So first thing I'm going to do is spray the surface. Actually, I'm going to spray the towel and then I'm going to wipe the surface. So You want to make sure there's no oils or anything on the surface. And as you can see, it's very faded. Let's see how this product holds up here. Or rather, we'll see how the product does. With this product, I can go ahead and do plastic, I can do the chrome. I'm also going to be ceramic coating the entire vehicle, so if I choose, I can use the ceramic for the vehicle, or I can use the trim on the chrome. Either way, it's perfectly fine. Okay, so now that we have the surface clean, we'll let it dry for a second. What we're going to be using for the trim is GYEON Trim. And GYEON Trim comes with a few things. So it comes, of course, with the ceramic trim coating. It also comes with a sponge and some suede applicators. I'm going to be using a combination of the suede applicators and a piece of microfiber that I cut so that I can really get into nooks and crannies. So let me grab that. All I did was I cut a piece of microfiber. This is a new cloth, and I cut it that way I can really kind of bend it and twist it to get into corners. I'm gonna shake this up real well. Pop the top, potentially one-handed, maybe not. And then I'm going to add a bit to this cloth. And I'm just going to rub it onto the surface. So this particular product is supposed to restore the dark look or the black look, and also protect it from UV rays, UVA, UVB. It'll help with cleaning. And the big question in my mind is, how long is this going to last? So this will be another product that, as with the rest of the products that I'm using on this vehicle, I'll also be gauging how well this holds up. So the application of this is nothing more than applying it to the surface, and then you can either wipe it off, or if it's a porous surface, they say you can just leave it on there and let it sit without any kind of wipe down. I would say on a flat surface where it's not porous, you definitely want to wipe it. If it is a porous surface, probably isn't going to hurt anything to let it sit on the surface. I will say that the application of this is very, very simple. For some reason the video shut off on me. Anyway, all I did was I finished applying the product, and then I used a microfiber towel to wipe the surface, and that's what we've got from here. I would say that looks pretty darn good. So there's the other one that hasn't been done yet, and here's one that I just did. And wow. So I use solution finish on a lot of plastics. I would say this, I mean, if it maintains this appearance, this looks pretty darn good. So yeah, we'll see how the long-term test comes out, and after I do all the plastics, next thing I'm going to do is the ceramic coating on the paint. So I'll go ahead and finish this up and then return here in a few. Moving on to paint correction. So I'm going to be doing a single stage paint correction, and before I get started, I want to understand how much clear coat I have to work with. So to check that, I have this handy dandy little doodad, and so this will measure your clear coat / paint thickness, and it'll tell you if you have high spots and low spots. In this case, it says that the paint layer is original, so it actually has a color coded. So let me go back. There's an app, and on the app it will, as you're taking points along the surface, it will tell you if it's good or if it's not good. So it's color coded: green if it's good, yellow if it's getting thin, red if there's Bondo, or if it's too thin, it'll show you that as well. So very handy little tool. I highly recommend it. Works great, easy to use, and the app interface is great. So all I do is I want to make sure that I get this surface here. Oops. Kind of hard to see. surface right here. Those 4 flat little spots there. You want to make sure those are sitting flat against the surface as you're taking your points, otherwise you can get a false reading. All I did was I would come over, sit down on the surface, it would take a point, come down on the surface, take a point, come down on the surface and take a point. And I do that across the entire vehicle. That way I know what I'm working with before I start correcting the paint. In this case, it's, I would say, not so aggressive. I'm only using a single stage compound. It's not so aggressive, however, I still want to understand where I'm at before we get going. Next, to check, I'm just going to show you. So I have a light that mimics sunlight. This is the model, so 50 SL Max. Works great, has 3 different colors, 3 different color spectrums, I suppose you'd call it. So you can go from sunlight, which would be this one here, to this one here, to this one here. And what I use this for is to see kind of effect I've had on the paint. So this is, you can see swirl marks and all that good stuff. So if you look right where the light is, you can see the scratches. It'll be easier to see over here. There we go. So if you follow the light, you can see this thing looks like one big old spider web, and the entire truck's like that. Anyway, I use this as I go along to inspect as I go. So it's that spider webbing that we're going to be removing with a single stage correction. I may or may not get all of them, but to be honest with you, if I can get, you know, let's call it 80%, I'm good. And typically that's about what you get. So there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this. I'm not gonna bore you guys with a ton of video on me doing the entire vehicle, but I will do a section over in here. I'll do this section here. I'll show you the process and method that I use, the products. So the tools I'm going to be using are the yellow pad by Rupes. I'll be using it on a Rupes Bigfoot 15. So it's an LHR 15ES. So the first thing I want to do is get my pad properly located on the center of this. So it has hook and loop. And I'm going to pay very close attention to getting it as centered as I can possibly get it. Regarding the polish, I'm going to be using it as 3D1. And to be quite frank, I've used this many times, this combination. I've tried a bunch of combinations. This one here, for me, works the best of any combination I've used for a single stage correction. And it's virtually, I can go to hard paint, soft paint, and I get great results regardless. So, first things first. First thing I'm gonna do is get the pad primed. To do that, I'm going to put some drops, some decent sized drops on the pad. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to turn it down to about speed 2.5, and I'm going to dwell in a section. And this does 2 things. One, it primes the pad, so it gets the paste inside the pad, kind of primes it. And number 2, I'll be able to look at the spot that I just did, thanks Rupes by the way, as a test spot to see kind of how this combination will work on this particular paint. So let's do that. So I'm going to put it directly on the surface, sitting flat, 2.5 speed. I'm going to let it dwell for about 15 seconds. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it, just a little bit. Okay, now the pad is primed, I can wipe the surface. Clean microfiber, of course, and now I can inspect it. So it's going to be difficult to see on film, but the area is really good. Now the pad's primed. Now we can move on to doing a section, and I'll show you how I do that. So I'll put 3 more, it's called pea-sized drops on. And I'm going to work in a section that's about 6 times the pad. So let's call it from here, actually about from here to here. So just on the top, I'm not going to roll the sides, any of that. Put directly on the surface. Stage 3. So of course the video shut off on me. However, let me show you what we have here. You can see that. There we go. Now you can really see it. You can see that. So looks beautiful. I'm going to finish up with the rest of the vehicle and then we'll come back and go on to the next stages. Hopefully this is picking it up on camera. So I'm just going to do a walk by on the bed and then the one door that hasn't been done. And then we'll go by the one that has been done. Follow the light. Moving on to the ceramic coating, here are the supplies that we're going to be using. I'm going to use the orange rag for wiping the surface with Q2M Prep. I'm going to be ceramic coating with GYEON MOHS Evo. I'm going to be wiping the surface with this rag from the rag company, and then I'm going to do a final wipe with this rag also from the rag company. So let's start. I'm just going to do a small section for now, and I'm going to spray the rag and I'm going to wipe the area that I'm going to start with. Now this thing's been wiped so many times I can't count. However, I want to make sure there's no dust left on the surface. I know there's no grease or oils. Next, GYEON MOHS. Next I'm going to try to open this up. I'm going to put drops on my micro suede applicator. I'm going to put a decent amount on there to start. And I'm simply going to going back and forth patterns. So now that I have the coating on the surface, what I'm waiting for is for the product to start sweating, which it already is. Then I'm going to take this microfiber cloth, I'm going to wipe down the surface. And I'm going to follow up with this towel. And that's it. And you can apply a second coat if you'd like. It's really up to you. They say with a single coat you can get about 3 years out of it. They say with 2 coats up to 5. So that's really up to the user. In my case, I'll probably do 2 coats, but that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe to stay updated on all the upcoming stuff. There's plenty of